Hello and welcome to Distraction. I'm your host, Dr. Ned Hallowell. Thank you so much, as always, for joining me. We love our audience and we wish you tell our friends about us because we love reaching out to you and sharing the wonderful information as well as good cheer we hope that we do share. This episode is made possible by our wonderful sponsor, Landmark College, the college of choice for students like me who learn differently. Joining me today once again is our favorite guest, the lovely, talented, amazingly triumphant in so many ways, Jessica McCabe from HowtoADHD. Jessica, I know you have an idea of what you would like to talk about. You always do. So I don't want to get in your way. Let me stand aside and welcome the so very talented Jessica McCabe.
Thank you for that incredible introduction. Yeah, I wanted to talk about body doubling today because a lot of us are learning from home and things are even more challenging than maybe they usually are. There's some great advantages to learning from home, or, if you're learning on campus, being by yourself when you're studying or trying to take a course. Online courses can be great. They can also be really difficult because we don't get enough accountability. We don't have anybody else around. We're not getting the cues that it's time to work, that it's time to focus the same way that you do if, say, you're in the library and everybody else around you is studying. So you're like, okay, cool. Like there's that kind of social pressure to study that we might not be getting when we're at home. Like at home, we're kind of maybe getting pressured by things like the Xbox that keeps taunting us and being like, do you really need to study? So one of the best things you can do is to use a body double. A body double in Hollywood means something very differently than what I'm talking about. In Hollywood, a body double means somebody who looks like you, who looks like the actor, who fills in for the actor, maybe does some stunts or whatever, but is there so that the actor doesn't have to do the thing. If we have a body double when we have ADHD, we still have to do the thing. We just have somebody else in the room with us is really what it is. It's somebody to sit quietly with you while you work. Maybe they are studying the same thing as you. Maybe they're studying something else. Maybe they're doing a completely different task. But the idea is you sit in silence and you have somebody else present. And for those with ADHD, that can be really important because it can be so hard for us to stay focused and on task. The attention regulation is a part of our condition, and our brains go so quickly that if we see a cue to do something else, like we're quick off and running doing that thing before we realize, like, wait, I was supposed to be working on something else. So a body double can help with that. It can also help us just give us some emotional support, to be honest, because there are some tasks that we build this, as Brendan Mahan from ADHD Essentials puts it, a wall of awful around. We have struggled to do this seemingly simple task so many times, and we've failed at it in the past that there's a lot of emotion that we have to get past to be able to start doing the thing. And so just having somebody else there can kind of be this emotional support as well in that way. It's like that for me with paying bills. Opening and paying bills is one of the most difficult things in the world. It's not that it's hard, like technically, like I do a lot more challenging things with a lot more ease because I just don't have that same level of like dread of like opening the thing, and it's a boring task and I've failed at it before and I've ruined my credit, and there's just so much around it that just having my boyfriend sit next to me while I do it is enough for me to be able to tackle that task. Otherwise, I'm going to put it off for like forever and ruin my credit again. So knowing what tasks you could use a little extra support for, one thing to ask yourself is like, would this activity be easier if somebody else was in the room? Another great thing about doing it is if you set it up ahead of time, it's kind of like an appointment, right? Like we tend to respect appointments more than we do like saying like, oh yeah, I'm going to totally play guitar today. We're not going to respect that as much as like we have a performance today. Like somebody's expecting us to show up and perform for them. Body doubling is something in the middle where somebody else will notice if you don't do the thing and you've blocked out time for it. The way to find a body double, if this is something that sounds like it might be helpful for you, is there's several ways. You can ask a friend, and it can feel weird to be like, hey, can you sit with me while I do this thing so that I do this thing? But you'd be surprised at how many people it benefits, how many other people are struggling with it too. Because difficulty focusing isn't unique to ADHD. It's a part of a lot of other conditions as well, including sometimes the human condition. So it's beneficial not just to you, but to the other person too. Because you can be like, hey, is there something you've been putting off that you need help with? making sure that you do. Cool. I'm struggling to do this. Let's sit together and just put ourselves on mute and work in silence. You can do it over Zoom. You don't have to be in the same room. You can do it online. There's also a website. If you don't know anybody that might be willing to do this with you, there's a website called focusmate.com where you can set it up. I think you get like 3 sessions a week for free. And you can say like, hey, at this time, I need a partner. I'm going to be working on this. They're going to be working on this. And then you just sit in silence and work together. If it is a friend, I do recommend having a distinction between when it's like time to talk and hang out and when it's time to work. The Pomodoro technique can work great for this, where you set a timer for 25 minutes. And then when the 25 minutes is up, cool, now we get to talk for 5 minutes. But then when that 25 minutes starts again, now we're doing our work. Because otherwise, you set up a body doubling session and then you just end up talking to your friend for the entire hour. And there are certain people that it might be hard to do that with. Like if it's somebody you haven't seen in a long time, it might be really hard to stop and study when what you actually really want to do is just catch up on everything that you've missed. So it's good to know yourself, know what tasks a body double might be helpful for, know who does and doesn't work for you as a body double. And if you are being a body double for somebody else, recognize it's not your job to make sure that they get their work done. Like you're not there to like lay down the law or anything. Like you don't have to keep nagging them to do it. That's their job. You're just there to provide a gentle, non-judgmental presence, really. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I got. Do you have any questions?
No, it's such a great idea. Don't you think a dog can also function as a body double?
Yeah, in a way they can, which is really interesting. I read once that sometimes they actually bring dogs in to classrooms to help kids with dyslexia who are struggling to read, who maybe feel self-conscious about doing it in front of other people. They'll have them sit and read to a dog to get the practice because that dog is not going to be judgy. That dog is going to be absolutely welcoming. And my dog actually does serve as a body double for me while I'm at work. Part of what I've trained her to do is when I'm at work, she comes and hangs out with me and she kind of sleeps or whatever. But I see her sleeping and I know it's time to work because at some point she's going to wake up and need to be taken for a walk. At some point she's going to want to play with me. And so while she's sleeping is a great time for me to like sit down and focus. So yeah, dogs can make a great body double. And sometimes, people who don't even know they're being a body double can be a body double. For me, a great body double that I don't need silence for is if I need to clean up, like if I need to clean my room or something. If I'm on the phone with somebody, I'll start cleaning my room because usually it's a horribly, horribly boring task that I don't want to do for longer than 3 minutes. Right. But if I'm talking to somebody, I'm distracted enough that I can clean my room without getting terribly bored. And so they end up keeping me company while I'm doing something that otherwise I wouldn't do. And so you can do that even if they don't know they're being a body double as well. Yeah.
I mean, music can serve that function. Plants can serve that function. There are ways that you can feel input, that allow you to do tedious tasks.
Yeah, that's true. I think the key with body doubling is basically just knowing that someone will notice, for the most part, generally speaking, it's someone will notice if you're not doing the thing. Like somebody knows what you're supposed to be working on. And when you see that person, it acts as a reminder of what you're supposed to be working on. And so you can set up other cues for yourself too. Like when I put on this certain music playlist, I know it's time to study. And if you get distracted and then you realize what's playing, that's a cue. That's a reminder like, oh, right, I'm supposed to be studying. The same way that a body double in person you look at them and you're like, oh, right, I'm supposed to be working on this thing. So there's a lot of different ways to set up cues, but body doubles can be a great way to give yourself the cues that it's time to work on what you're supposed to be working, as well as just that sense of like positive feedback, I guess. Like even if they don't say anything, that they're seeing that you're working. And so then that feels good. And you can set up at the beginning of the session, like, hey, this is what I'm going to be working on. This is what you're going to be working on. And at the end of the session, you can say, this is what I got done. So then you get a little bit of like, I got to feel good. I got to like, somebody got to notice that I did the thing. And that can be really motivating as well.
I think it's also, Jessica, the force of what I call the other vitamin C, Vitamin Connect. And I think just having a human in the room, it fortifies you, strengthens you, reduces your fear, makes you feel more in control. Particularly these days, we're living in, with such disconnection. When you have a person there, aside from the fact that they're watching or what have you, I think just the force field that emanates between two people is we know it's a scientific fact how powerful it is. And when there's no one there, I mean, social isolation, most people don't realize this, but social isolation is as dangerous for your health as cigarette smoking.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's, it can be a great way to give yourself a little connection as well. One other thing that I do with body doubling is I have trouble stopping work on time. And so my boyfriend and I started doing this thing where one of us picks the other one up from work, quote unquote, like we're in different rooms, but like we'll pick each other up and then we'll walk around and spend time together.
Great.
And so we're getting body doubling because we're both, making sure that we get exercise. We're making sure that we get outside. We're making sure that we stop working, and that peer pressure of, and that connection that we get is really wonderful because it makes it so that we get the things done that we want to get done. We get the connection we need. We get the walk, we get the exercise, which can be so important for ADHD.
Yes. Yes.
And it makes it easier. It really does. It just makes it easier to have somebody else be there with you when you do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, as always, you are a treasure trove of wisdom and gems, always put in such a charming and pleasant way. That's it for us today. You can learn more about Jessica McCabe at her website, HowtoADHD.com. And if you would like to support her work, she has this wonderful way that you can do it. You go to the website called Patreon, Patreon, like a sponsor, patreon.com/HowtoADHD. Go to patreon.com /HowtoADHD. That's a wonderful way to support Jessica's work and other people who need that kind of help. And if you're someone who learns differently, like me, like Jessica, please check out our sponsor, Landmark College at lcdistraction.org. That's Landmark College at lcdistraction.org. Landmark College in beautiful Putney, Vermont. It's the college of choice for students who learn differently. And please remember to reach out to us with your questions and comments. We thrive on them. We need them. By sending an email or a voice memo to connect@distractionpodcast.com. That's connect@distractionpodcast.com. And remember to subscribe to Distraction wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a review. We love getting reviews. That really helps the show. I'm also now on TikTok. You can go to TikTok and find me with the username @Dr. Hallowell. That's @DR, no period. Just @DRHALLOWELL. Please let me know what you think. Distraction is created by Sounds Great Media. Our recording engineer and editor is the extremely talented Scott Persson, and our producer is the equally extremely talented Sarah Guertin. I'm Dr. Ned Hallowell, thanking you all, and Jessica McCabe. Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.